They say South Africa stands with the oppressed. They say it's free, sovereign, independent. But how free can you be when your own state is listed like a company on the New York Stock Exchange? In this exposé, Joshua Mapanga lifts the mask off the illusion of freedom, the illusion of independence. Because behind every flag, there's a shareholder. And behind every speech about justice, there's a transaction waiting to clear.
That the South African government is actually registered as a company on the American Stock Exchange with CEOs and chairmen, and that has a direct business interest of the Americans over the South African business too. South Africa's politics is multifaceted. Even the hypocrisy of America is exposed.
Yeah.
Because when South Africa was at war, America was part of the problem. But also it must be mentioned, but we must speak softly, that the South African government is actually registered as a company on the American Stock Exchange with CEOs and chairmen, and that has a direct business interest of the Americans over the South African business too. When South Africa decides to cross swords with Israel over Gaza and the Palestinians, the Americans did not take that lightly, because Israel is a favorite of America. As such, the pressure to America, from America to South Africa, was actually hell-bent in the South Africa supporting Palestine. So you also have that dynamic. And thirdly, South Africa being one of the key financial hubs in the South, should America lose its grip on South Africa, they will have lost the entire of the Southern Hemisphere. That means all the SADC countries will start migrating towards the East. And America cannot have that. And fourthly, South Africa is one of the biggest uranium producers in the South.
Yeah.
And as such, America could be scared that should this animal go off their hands, the beneficiation, the development, and the interest of that uranium from other countries that are actually nuclear bent could actually end up with South Africa as a key supplier of some of those products. If from my own space, that can become one of the... And lastly, South Africa houses one of the greatest population of whites in the South. And you saw Trump the other day sending an aeroplane to pick up the white South Africans. I mean, why didn't you even send an aeroplane to pick up the blacks during apartheid? And now you show us your true colors. And I'm not surprised, because the other day we discovered that Trump himself, he's a German. So these are his cousins.
Yeah.
So he came to redeem his cousins.
Do you think South Africa will bow to the pressure?
There is enough political pressure within the younger political spaces like Malema, and but again, the corruption of money, the George Soros of this world, the Oppenheimers, and the Stellenbosch mafias, and other globalists who have a direct interest in the business of South Africa, the banking and the insurance companies, they would play the games of gambling. Because even Ramaphosa himself, there was more than $2 billion that was found running around tables to install him as president, to an extent that there's actually a cry of the legitimacy of that president. But the financial houses were interested in him as a businessman to assume that position. So to ask a question like, will the Western world be so reluctant on their grip on South Africa? They are not in a hurry.
You don't think they can learn from what Burkina Faso has done?
Hence, the blackmail and propaganda around Burkina Faso continues. And if America had its way, like the way they did with Mugabe, when he took the land, they beat him so hard. So hard, we became a laughing stock of the whole world. Not because we're evil, not because we killed any whites. No. It was to show any other African government that dare you touch land. And you try it as Kenya. You try it as Kenya. Take away land from these white people. You burn sanctions by tomorrow morning.
We're almost playing with fire at some point, I think, with the Batrouk. There's an issue with Batrouk.
You don't start. You don't, unless you're ready for what happened to us. And again, look at the fear. Look at the fear of sanctions and it's all being held over your sovereignty and your land ownership.
South Africa is not just a country. It is the last colonial outpost claiming to be a state. Mapanga is right. America's hypocrisy drips all over this. Washington cheered apartheid from the shadows, fueled its economy, and only opposed it when global pressure made silence impossible. Today, South Africa sits on the American Stock Exchange like a corporation with CEOs and chairmen. That's not a metaphor. That's a reality. This is why when Pretoria raises its voice against Israel's genocide in Gaza, the White House bares its teeth. Because Israel is Washington's spoiled child, and South Africa is a cash cow in their southern pasture. America cannot afford to lose South Africa. Lose Johannesburg, and you lose the whole southern hemisphere. you lose the uranium, you lose the mineral gateway to the east. You lose the last bastion of white settler capital in Africa. This is why Trump sent a plane to evacuate white South Africans, but America never once sent a plane to rescue black lives under apartheid. He was saving his cousins, not his conscience. And this is why the same Western powers that crushed Zimbabwe for touching white-owned land now weaponize sanctions, propaganda, and financial sabotage to scare any African nations from daring to take back its soil. Burkina Faso is the current warning. The blackmail is clear. The day you touch land, the day you break the contracts, the sanctions will fall like a hammer. So will South Africa bow? Not if its young political movements shake off the Stellenbosch mafias, the Soros-backed NGOs, and the Ramaphosa-style billionaire presidents installed by foreign banks. But if it continues to play polite while sitting on uranium, land, and the hopes of an entire hemisphere, it will remain what it is now, a corporate colony with a flag.
So, who really runs South Africa? Is it the politicians we see on TV, or the silent investors across the ocean? Mapanga reminds us, you can't serve two masters. You can't shout, liberation, with a Western leash around your neck. The question now isn't just about South Africa. It's about every nation claiming freedom under foreign control. If sovereignty can be bought and sold on Wall Street, then tell me, who's really free? Don't forget to subscribe to Phoenix Actu so you don't miss our next broadcast.